Hey everyone, welcome back to Driple Studios. Today I'm going to show you how to navigate the new next-gen Roblox Studio interface. Before I begin, if you don't have this interface and you would like to use it, go to File, Beta Settings, and scroll down until you find Next-Gen Studio Preview. If you tick this and click Save, you will then be prompted to restart Roblox Studio, and you do have to restart Roblox Studio for the new design to take place. By default, we see 6 tabs at the top of the screen: Home, Model, Avatar, UI, Script, and Plugins. I'll go through each of these as well as the extra important features. You'll probably have noticed there is no Test tab anymore. To test your game, you can now find a drop-down menu on the top left which says Test by default, as well as a Play, Pause, Stop, and Client Server button. If you have Test selected and click the Play button, you'll start testing. We can open this drop down and load the character at the same position as our camera by selecting the Test Here option. Now when we hit play, our player spawns where the camera was, and not on the spawn pad. You can also simulate your experience by selecting Run. This will run your game from the server only, meaning there are no players in the game. This is useful if you're testing server-side logic. When you run a simulation, you'll notice 2 new buttons: Pause Server, which replaces the usual pause button, and Step Forward, which you can use to skip 1 frame. Finally, you can run a local server using the Server and Clients option. This allows you to select the number of clients you want here. You can select up to 8, and when you run this, you'll get however many players you specified appear, which you can then play around with, and you'll also get a local server, which you can use to adjust server-side stuff. You can terminate the local simulation using the End Session button. Now let's move on to the Home tab. The first buttons we see are our tools. We can select, move, scale, rotate, and transform items. Nothing new here. To the right of these, we see our dragger mode. By default, it's set to geometric. Physical is used for creating systems that rely on Roblox's physics engine. It's not as common to use this, but if you're making a game which is heavy on physics, you may be using this. Other than that, everything else is the same. You can enable and disable collisions, join surfaces, and snap to parts. To the right of this is the move and rotate options. These allow you to lock movement and rotation to a set value. For example, I can set movement to 100 studs. Now when I move this, it's set to 100 stud snaps. And same with rotation, I can do 90 degrees, and you can change the value by just adjusting it in these 2 input fields. We can add different types of parts using the part button. So if we just click this, we get a square. However, if we click in the bottom right corner where we've got the little arrow, we can choose between a block, a sphere, a wedge, a corner wedge, and a cylinder. You can add terrain using the terrain button. Again, import, generate, clear, and just manually edit terrain. You can add a model character into the game using the character button. This will prompt you with the options to generate different NPC characters. For example, if I click my avatar, it creates a character of my avatar. You can also add GUI into the game directly from the GUI button in the Home tab. Again, if we just click this, nothing happens. If we open up the Explorer, it adds a screen GUI to starter GUI. And if you click on the corners, you can add surface GUIs and other sorts of GUIs. You can add a script, local script, or module script using the script button. And finally, for the third section, you can import a 3D model from your computer using the Import 3D button. This will open up your File Explorer, and it will ask you to find the 3D model you want to import, which you can then select, and it will import it into Roblox for you. The fourth section is where we can find properties for parts. None of this is new, so I'll just skim over it. Material lets you change the material of a selected part. Color lets you change the color of a selected part. Group lets you group parts together, either as a model or a folder. You can, if I was to select something, you can click the little arrow to group as a model or a folder. Lock stops you from being able to click a part to select it. You'll have to go to the Explorer window to select this part again. Speaking of the Explorer tab, you can find the Explorer properties and toolbox windows in the 5th section of the Home tab. So let me enable the Explorer, the properties, and let's just open the toolbox, and you see it all loads here. Now if I select the spawn location and hit lock, I can't select the spawn location anymore. I now actually have to go into the workspace and click the spawn location. I can then unlock it, but lock just prevents you accidentally moving it, essentially. A lot of the model tab is the same as the Home tab. Edit pivot lets you change the pivot point of a part, so it can be rotated around a new point. You can reset the pivot point using the reset button. Let me just show you that as an example. So let me add in a part. If I click edit pivot, I can change the pivot location and move it around to be in a different place as before. So if I put it over here in this corner, when I now rotate the part, it's going to rotate around this pivot point. I'll hit reset just to reset that. Effects let you add a range of effects to a part. I won't cover them all because there is a lot. And constraint allows you to add a range of constraints to a part. I won't go through the different types of constraints as there are so many, but I may make a whole separate video on them in the future. You can use the align tool to align 2 or more parts in your workspace. There's some options you can play around with when you select 2 parts. You have to have at least 2 parts selected for it to work. So if I just add another part in, select both of these, we can then play around with the X, Y, and Z and align them, and then they get aligned. You have to play around with the settings to get the alignment you would like, but the option is there. Finally, you can create unions and other intersections using the union tools in the 7th section of the model tab. Moving on to the avatar tab, the avatar buttons are essentially an extension of the character button. Once you've made a character, you can set up a rig, create animations, change accessories, and convert models into accessories. The UI tab, self-explanatory. It allows you to add UI elements to your experience. You can find almost every UI element here. It's essentially an extension of the GUI button in the Home tab. Moving on to script, you can use the back button to go back to the previous script you were in, and the forward button to go to the next script. The format button can be used to format the current script you're typing. This will automatically indent everything for you. For instance, this script here will create a leader stats inside the player, but none of it is indented. So if I just hit script, format, and then I can either format my selection or format the document. Selection will just be whatever I select, and document will just format the whole thing, and it will automatically put those dents in there. You can find code and go to specific lines using the following 2 buttons, the find and the go to line button. You can enter a command into the command prompt using the command button. This lets you type code into a prompt to create more instances in your workspace, for example. You can also enable the output window here, where errors and warnings are shown while testing the game. You can view existing breakpoints using the breakpoints button, and you can view the current call stack too. If you don't understand these 2 features, they are used more commonly by advanced scripters, so if you aren't much of a programmer, don't worry too much about these at the moment, but just know they are available for you to use. You can also watch variables using the watch button. Analysis will give you an analysis of errors and warnings in your scripts while running the game, and performance will show you current performance while running the game. Moving on to plugins, your plugins tab will look different to mine. You probably won't have the same plugins as me. This is where all the plugins you have installed can be found. You can find new plugins in the toolbox by going to Toolbox, changing the tab from Models to Plugins, and then you can find plugins down here. Finally, you can now add a custom tab. If you click this plus, you can name it. I'll call it Custom Tab. And you can add whatever tools you would like into this tab. For example, I could add the device emulator into this tab. So now I've got a device emulator in this custom tab. To delete the tab or rename it, you can right click it and there's a bunch of options. That's it for the new layout. If there's any features you can't find that you used to be able to see in the old layout, such as device emulator, like I've just added, you can find these in the top tabs: File, Edit, View, Plugins, Window, and Help. Device emulator, for example, is found under View. You've got the device and the player emulator. Thanks for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please leave a like and subscribe, as it would really help us out, and feel free to check out our Discord server. The link will be in the description, where we're trying to build a community of future game developers. You can ask for programming help there, help others, share your projects, or just chat there. More information can be found in the description. Thank you and goodbye.